This is a all-Euro, first time at the show, Tech Talk. We have representatives from Priswing from France and Golfmanager, a new golf management system from Spain. So it's all Euro. And their accents might throw you off a little bit, but for the most part, you're going to catch it all. Now, let me add one thing. I had hoped to have Johnny Gilbert do the introduction and a band here for the breaks, but they were on an Alaska flight that got canceled, so sorry, they didn't make it. Another point about Priswing, I hear a lot of people calling it pre-swing. That isn't correct. This is the pre-swing. These guys are from Priswing. So if you're talking to people about it, make sure you get it right, just out of respect. My guest today is Brandon Estes from Priswing, Arnaud Zunz, the co-founder of Priswing, and Craig McLaughlin, a Priswing client from Candia Woods in New Hampshire. So we're going to go through some questions. We're going to give them a chance to talk a little bit about their technology, how it works, and with Craig, what the effects have been in their implementation. They've had Priswing running now in dynamic pricing for 4 years. So it's a good example of where you can take it as well. So let's start here. Arnaud, when did Priswing launch?
Hello, Harvey, and thank you for the invitation. It's a great pleasure to be there. We created Priswing 6 years ago, and on former, maybe I can say before Priswing, I created another company in Europe called Book & Golf, which was third-party players for B2C booking platform. And then I decided to go on the B2B platform to help golf pros to optimize their occupancy rate, to increase their revenue, and that was the goal of Priswing. So 6 years ago, we decided to launch a tech product, a SaaS product for golf course managers.
Excellent, thanks. New to Priswing, and their American representative is Brandon Estes, out from not far from my neck of the woods. Brandon's from Sacramento, I'm from Redwood City, California. I'd like one of you or both of you to explain your version of dynamic pricing as being similar or different from the other dynamic pricing or price setting technologies that our members have been hearing about now for several years.
Yeah, that's a great question. And thanks, Harvey, for the invite here. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm not European. I am the one American representative here for the Priswing team. Yeah, so I think with that question about price setting versus true dynamic pricing, it definitely all starts with our co-founders, Arnaud and Damien as well. These guys are true, real data scientists who adapted technology from other industries who have been leveraging dynamic pricing for years to come, right? And it's been successful over there, and they brought that technology over here to the golf world. And because of that, Priswing is a full-blown, true dynamic pricing solution that is extremely complex behind the scenes. I mean, some of the science, the data science that these guys talk about goes way over my head half the time, but it works. And not only is it complex behind the scenes, but it's intuitive and it's user-friendly for golf managers like all of us. Anyone can pick the system up and use it on a day-to-day basis, leverage the technology behind it, and you don't have to be an IT wizard to figure out how to make it work. It's a really great solution. I think the difference as well with Priswing compared to some of the other price setting solutions on the market today, we're not just looking at supply and demand like the basic dynamic pricing model is. We're also looking at historical data. So we're integrating with all of the known tee sheets out there, pulling information from years past, leveraging that data to use that in our technology so that our platform's learning as the more data is being implemented into the system, and we can use that to better recommend prices in the future. We're also looking at weather, both historical and current weather, So obviously weather plays a huge impact on the demand for a round of golf. So we obviously include that as well. I think those are some of the big things that separate Priswing from some of the solutions out there today and really separate us as a true dynamic pricing automated solution.
Thanks, Brandon. I know you're fairly new, but it sounds like you've been trained well.
I've been trained well. These guys know what they're talking about.
On your website, I saw a line that intrigued me, and I'd like to know a little bit about it. The line on your website is predictive algorithm that mimics your intuition. Are we talking about the magic world of AI with that?
Yeah, I can answer. I think AI is the word that everybody is speaking about right now, but we do, in fact, what we do is forecasting. We take into account historical data, golfer behavior, weather forecast, and predict, and so we predict the demand. We try to predict the demand. And so, yes, it's a generative technology, so it's AI. But the most important in that, and as you said, is the result. For me, the most important is not really the technology, is do we have happy customers at the end of the day? On the real, I was on the booth, we have a booth this morning, come to our booth this afternoon.
What's the booth number?
33, look on the map.
3523.
3523.
Yeah. And since this morning, as you know, I live in Europe, but I see all my customers face to face since this morning. And what I see is happy customers. And that's the most important in our. We have a great technology, we have data scientists, we apply technology from other industries. I was in the hotel industries before. So we are golfers. And it's really important to understand the golfer behavior because we adapt the technology to the golf industry. And we have two major clients. We have the golfers and the golf manager. And at the end of the day, dynamic pricing is fair pricing. You need to try to set up the fair price that will increase the revenue of the golf course, but also the client satisfaction. And that is why you have now golfers that are time sensitive, more that price sensitive, so you have different kind of golfers, and the objective of our tool is to satisfy everybody.
You mentioned, we talked about the algorithm. I'm curious to know, we'll get a little more technical here now, curious to know what factors are included in that algorithm, and are all those factors weighted equally, or are there different weights that determine the final, the way the final prices are set in the dynamic pricing engine?
Brandon, you have the secret sauce now.
Yeah, that's right. So the weighted system, I do know that the different variables are weighted differently. Now, I don't know the exact numbers behind those. I do know they're weighted separately. I will say, when you look at the algorithm, like Arnaud said, we're taking into account the current occupancy rates of any given day on any given time. We take that into account first. We're then looking at historical data, and the important distinction here is that we're looking at historical data on similar days in the past. So if it's today, if it's a late weekday in January, we're going to look at previous years in the past and look at weekdays in January and late January, and we can use that to better inform us, and that's part of the machine learning technology, where it better understands what your demand has been on this specific day, and it can now predict and recommend prices better based on that information. Weather as well. We also look at things like average booking times out. So I get the question all the time where somebody comes up to me and says, hey, we're worried that your system, your model is going to decrease price to the minimum price point. We have a tee time that's 3 days out, and it hasn't been booked out yet, and we're severely concerned that your price is just going to drop to the bottom dollar and not maximize our revenue in that case. Well, one of the things our algorithm is also looking at is the average booking time out. So if our system sees that 45% of your customers are booking within the day of or the day before, we're going to understand that, hey, we don't need to decrease this price right away. We actually understand that almost half of your customers are planning to book on the same day or within that next day. So those are some of the things that we look at that really dives into the science behind the the algorithm. I'm not sure if there's anything else you would add to that, but those are a few things that I notice are very important.
Yeah, maybe I can add about the weather. We take into account weather forecast, but also historical weather information. And so we analyze the historical, how the weather has impact on the demand. And it can be different in different states. For example, in the US, sometimes it's more the rain, the temperature, the wind. And so we can adapt also the algorithm to the price recommendation to the specific specificities of the golf course. So
I had something I want to add to the weather piece too. So I was just talking to a golf course in Canada, and I'm in Sacramento, California, where we golf 12 months out of the year. It's beautiful weather, all the time. And they had a question about, we actually grade our weather on a scale from 0 to 5, and that allows us to then compare that grade to the demand and how that's impacting it. Well, his question was around, hey, Canada golf, those golfers are more willing to go golfing in rain, semi-snow, cold weather. California, if it's 45 degrees, the course is empty, no one's out there. So his question was around how that grade is relative in comparison to multiple courses around the world. And the general answer is that number, that scale, if it's a 1.9 out of 5 weather grade, that scale is the exact same. However, with the historical weather data and pulling historical data from your tee sheet, we can then compare how that weather has impacted your specific customer segment's demand. That way we're not dropping prices if we see that it's a terrible weather day in Canada, because we know your golfers are still going out to golf on that day. Whereas in California, they might not go out on a 40-degree weather day. So,
I'm just curious, where are you pulling your weather data from?
It's a provider, external provider. I do not remember the name. It was purchased by Google. So it's an API. We have 30 years of historical data, and we have we enter the GPS point of each golf course, and we get the rain, every factors that impact demand, and so we analyze that.
Is that 30 years of history, hour by hour?
No, day by day.
Day by day. Okay, good to know.
And with weather too, it's really neat. We actually geofence and grab the longitude and latitude of your specific golf course. So we're not just pulling the city that you're in, but we're actually looking where your golf course is at.
Yeah, and one thing I can add about the technology is that we use also the concept of elasticity. I don't know if you know that, but in the hotel industry or other industries, elasticity is the client reaction to a price increase or price decrease. And so we analyze the elasticity of the golfer, and if the price increasing too much, maybe the demand will fall drastically at a time. And so we analyze that also to know what is the best price at the right time for the right golfer. And globally speaking, we, as you said, it's dynamic pricing. Globally speaking, we increase price. The average price is increasing because, and it's also a test and learn system, because once we set up a golf course, we onboard a golf course, they set up minimum price, maximum price. So, as I was saying, they control the system with the min and max price. The average recommendation will be always inside those floor and ceiling price. So the golf managers still have the power to control the tool, and that's really key in our system. I do not want something fully automatic, but at each time, the golf manager, they know, they have the experience, so it's a mix of a technical tool, but also with the experience of the golf manager that knows very well his course. There is an event outside, so it's really important that, and we work really closely with each golf manager.
Elasticity is a subject that came up in one of the sessions yesterday, I believe by John Last, and it's a economic theory or indicator, elasticity or inelasticity of how prices react to different factors, including demand. It's important for golf courses to understand what that theory is and how a system like Priswing can help you control or understand or react to that elasticity or inelasticity if things turn the other way. You have a business intelligence suite that I found on your website. What's included in the Business Intelligence Suite?
Yeah, so we have a business intelligence suite. We also have a live dashboard that gives you insights for current day, where you get insights into your revenue, and you can see revenue increases based on dollar figures as well as percentages from year over year or month over month in comparison to the prior years. So that gives you great insight into how you've been doing over the last few years. We also show you that in comparison to the weather grades for those specific months and years out of the year. So you can quickly see how weather has impacted your revenue or rounds booked. We also will show you on that live dashboard. These are all key performance indicators. So some of the other ones are your average green fee. So we obviously, like Arnaud said, we want to see that green fee slightly increasing. And we'll show you your green fee in comparison to previous years, as well as average occupancy rate. Some of the business intelligence tools, if you want to touch on some of those.
And we developed all those analytics based on the client. In fact, it's our clients, especially golf management groups. We work both with independent golf course and management groups. But management groups, very often now they have a revenue manager and they need more analytics to analyze everything. And that is why we developed the business intelligence part.
So you have within that business intelligence suite easily accessible comparative reporting that can compare, the same day last year to this day, the week or month or year, and comparative in a number of different KPIs, key performance indicators, that make it real easy for your clients to be able to understand the patterns that are happening with their demand and their sales of greens fees, right?
Yeah, exactly. For example, we have also a heat map. So the Golfmanager, they can see the historical occupancy rate by day, by hour, and they can compare that to the average price. So they can see really easily on a heat map, on a map with a color code, if their pricing strategy is in line with their occupancy rate. Because what we do, dynamic pricing, is just what those golf courses since decades. Since decades, golf course, they have different pricing depending on the sunset, on the weekend, etc. What we do just is hour by hour. And the difference is that it's automatic. We take into account historical data, predictive data. We mix everything to make the price recommendation that will optimize not really the occupancy rate of the course, but the revenue of the course. Because sometimes we need to decrease price, sometimes to increase price. The objective is not to have the maximum, to maximize the number of rounds, but to maximize revenue.
Very good. And we don't have subtitles, so if you're having problems understanding everything that Arnaud's saying, we will have time for questions at the end, so we can clear some of the stuff up.
The most important, it works.
Which GMS, first of all, I'm referring now to all systems that we used to call point of sale. At the technology conference in October, NGCOA formally retired the term POS or point of sale. We now use Golf Management System or GMS because the systems today are so much more sophisticated and do so many other things than the original POS, which was basically just an electronic tee sheet and electronic cash register. We've advanced well beyond that. So from now on, when you're out shopping, you're looking around, you're talking to people about your system, it's Golf Management System or GMS. So next question, which GMS systems do you integrate with?
Yeah, we work with just about all GMS systems on the market today. Damien being the genius he is, and Arnaud as well, we're able to connect to the back-end APIs with those systems and integrate with all of them just about flawlessly. Club Profit obviously being one that we work very well with. Fora, 10-4, Golfmanager, of course. Yeah, that's right. So no real limitations there, which is great. We're able to work with just about all the courses out there.
So who don't you integrate with? Let's put it that way.
Currently, we are still in discussion with many POS, but we are integrated with, I think, with 15 POS, our booking engine on the system. So the most important we are integrated with. After we are discussing, but most of them, the biggest.
We have with us Craig McLaughlin from Candia Woods in New Hampshire. Craig's course has been running Priswing now for 4 years, along with Club Profit, correct? As your golf management system.
That's correct.
Okay, so Craig, give us some idea of how you got started with Priswing. I'm curious to know about the thought process, the decision-making process, and the implementation, both with your staff and with your customers. How did they respond to it? That's broad, but the floor is yours to tell us everything you can.
Thank you for having me join you today, Harvey. Appreciate it. We had set up a demo with Arnaud a little ways back, and there's a lot that goes into their algorithms. And what's great for me is that I don't have to worry about it so much. I trust the algorithms to do what they need to do. So as we were looking at systems, Priswing and the integration with Club Profit worked out so well for us. In addition to training our staff too, it was a lot simpler of use for our staff. So for a manager aspect of it, a lot of the work is the setup at the beginning of the season or even off season now to get our price structures set, what our floor and ceilings are, and then from there set it and forget it for the most part. This whole past year, we didn't really look at it much other than just to check out the business intelligence, see where things were going, how the heat maps were going. Did we have to make any adjustments? Very seldom did we have to make any adjustments throughout the season.
How do you first set those floors and ceilings? Is that just, let's try this and see how it works?
So going with historical data on what we had been set for our pricing, we would set a certain ceiling and then a floor that we would allow the algorithm to get down to. Seldomly, based on historical data and the booking rate, we didn't see that we get to the floor too often. We would notice it would be coming in at a price that we would be looking to get, whether it was in the middle or at a higher end during those busier times. So we would set those that floor and ceiling. And for example, we've been already discussing next year setting those floor and ceilings a little bit wider to let the algorithm do a little bit more of the work.
So by widening the
higher,
you're going higher, but no lower. In fact, might you raise that floor price up a little bit because you're not seeing
right? And that's set during a certain time of the day. So as Arnaud said, by hour. So we went to the heat map to take a look at where we could be having a little more booking, and that's where we set a different floor ceiling during that hour.
So one of the hesitancies I hear from golf course operators in considering Priswing, some of them have older staff who may be resistant to the whole concept of dynamic pricing. What type of training, what was your introduction to your staff of what you were doing and what you were planning, and what training did you have to go through to get them to both accept and use it properly?
So the training aspect starts with also training the golfer. So we also put information on our website and our booking site, confirmation emails, signage in the shop that explains what dynamic pricing is. So try to get out in front of a difficult conversation at the counter where we don't have our staff necessarily breaking the news to them what dynamic pricing is before they come into the pro shop. So we start with that, and then with the pro shop staff, getting them to understand dynamic pricing, and then explain to the customers how this all works. How really, during certain times of the day, they can get a better deal or a better rate if they don't happen to like the higher price because it's a prime time, or there's other options to play throughout the day at a different price.
How many of your regular golfers did you see change their behavior because of dynamic pricing? Like you said, how many of them that were always the 8 o'clock Saturday morning or 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and now that price is higher than it used to be, have they changed their habit? Did they accept the higher price, or have they changed their habit and said, you know what, it's a lower price at 11, I'll wait until then?
I didn't no notice of major change, especially in regular golfers. A weekend play, especially now Fridays really being busy like a weekend. A lot of the regulars want to get out early, get their round in, and get home. So a lot of regular players didn't notice a major change in habit.
So one of your keys in introducing this to your customers was creating the transparency of exactly what you were doing and why you were doing it. Was that just, and the why is not, obviously you're not going to say, well, we want to make more money, so we're putting in dynamic pricing. The why is really giving them more choices in what they want to pay, when they want to play. Is that correct?
Correct.
Expand on that? Or did I just explain it all and take the words out of your mouth?
Pretty well. So obviously looking to get the max value of that time, or that even it's per player too. So you could have somebody paying a different rate at the same tee time. So you're getting the max value out of that time, but also providing additional options for players if they want to play at a different time at a different rate.
One of the sessions we had at NGCOA was getting beyond fear in choosing new technologies or range technologies or things like that, getting beyond the fear of making that investment. Was there a fear factor as you were considering introducing dynamic pricing to your market? And how did you get beyond that?
Yes, there's a little fear to it. You kind of dip your toes into it some, but as we learned more about the software and its capabilities and what it can do, we were able to expand upon that a little bit more.
You're in New Hampshire, so obviously a seasonal market. What we're talking about, April to October, basically?
Well, this past year was April to January 1. So, a little mild winter.
Yeah, good for you. But within that seasonality, how does Priswing's dynamic pricing adjust those prices based on the fact that the season is open? I mean, in my mind, it always killed me that golf courses would throw out super cheap specials when the season was opening, when golfers were so itching to play golf, they'd pay anything to play.
Right.
Have you seen that, and have you adjusted your prices accordingly?
So in going into 2024, having a different look at it, but in 23 we still had some off-season pricing, but not as low as it had been in previous years. Within Priswing, we're able to set seasons in their price range area, and we're able to set that season to, especially for twilight times, you're able to adjust the pricing on the time. So having a little bit of a shoulder season, more of the first month closing and then the last month.
I think it's interesting that you're in a rural, I'll call it a rural market or ex-suburban. You're not in a major metro area. And there's fear among courses in a major metro area where nobody else is doing dynamic pricing, and they fear being the first ones. So I'm impressed that a course outside of a metro area where really more golf is being played has said this is the right thing for us, where there's so many courses within and busier and full season like we have in California with 12 months, who are saying, well, I don't need it, or I don't want it, or my market's not going to accept it. What you found in your market, which is much smaller, was pretty quick acceptance from your customers?
A little bit of a learning curve at first, but yes, as we have continued to implement it, a lot more understanding of what it is, what it means.
Okay, let's open up to questions. Anybody have questions specific to dynamic pricing and the technology that Priswing can bring to you and your golf management system? Right here.
Thank you. I just had one question. How much more money are you making with dynamic pricing?
Thank you. That is the great question. You want to answer? No. I would say before you say on average, we have now 6 years of track record. We are more than 400 courses using our solution worldwide, both in Europe, you can hear with my accent, but also and mostly in the US, we see the average increase of from 5 to 15% on average. Some are 30%, some are... I think they all gain money because we have only happy customers. No churn, to be honest. But, you can answer if you want.
I'd say 15 to 20%.
Wow, really? 15 to 20% year-over-year revenue increase since you introduced dynamic pricing. It's impressive. Very impressive. Has there been any other changes in your market that could affect that as well? In other words, has the course next door closed, or?
We did have a course about, I'd say 45 minutes away from us, did close this past year, but so we did see a little bit more play, but with COVID, things have already boomed already. Not incredibly significant, but yeah, seeing a little more play.
It's impressive. Thank you. I have another question back here.
Do you plan to consider the prices in other golf courses near yours to calculate the best price?
That's a good question, and I think we are in the golf industry and not in the hotel. We do not sell TV. It's not like Amazon or stuff like that. So I do not want to take into account price of the other course because each course is different. We have a kind of radar module, so you can see the price. So to know the price of in the area, but I do not want to take that into account in the algorithm because the risk of that, and I've seen that in other industries, is to decrease price. Okay, they are lower than me, so I'm going to be $1 less. And that is not the golf industry. I think each course is also different. There is a real quality of each golf course. And my idea is more to increase price globally because the quality of courses are increasing.
Did I answer your question? Any other questions?
You mentioned you had a great weather this winter, and you went up 15 to 20%. How can you be sure that that was a result of Priswing as opposed to just having good weather?
Also a good question. Of course, price does not do everything. You can have snow, you can have great weather, so or you can have events, you can have a COVID, you can have many factors that impact demand. But price is really important. It's a key factors. And what we do, it's a bit complex, but what we do is we analyze also relative performance. So we have a model in our business intelligence. We apply the weather forecast of a year to previous years. And so we analyze, okay, if the weather of this year was the same last year, what would be the result? So we do historical simulation to try to compare apple to apple and try to say, okay, with the same condition, what would be the result? Because of course the idea is not the weather is good, so my revenue are increasing, and the weather is bad, so my revenue is decreasing. It's more complex than that, and so we go into depth and we analyze the relative performance based on historical data also.
Okay, last question. Anybody else? All right, last question. What do you see down the road for your technology in, say, the next 3 years? I don't like saying 5 years because we just can't. That's just a ridiculous time period to talk about. But in the next 2 to 3 years, what do you see as the next features or evolution of your software that's going to make Craig's job even better and more successful?
I think the most important, and you talked about that, is how the market, how the Golfmanager, how the golfers are adopting this technology. And we are on the market since many years now. I see now that really golfers and Golfmanager, they understand exactly what is dynamic pricing. And so I think we try, it's not really to have always a better technology, it's just to use it, and to use it well with price ranges, with stuff like that. And so I think it's more the adoption of the market. We are, I think, at 80% adoption. And so the idea is really to expand the understanding of our technology.
I'll give you one last quick example of dynamic pricing at its maximum. I extended my trip by a day kind of at the last minute because there was so much going on. I usually leave Thursday night. Now I'm saying till Friday. Wasn't sure that I could get my room at the Rosen Center for an extra night. So I started looking around. And just for the heck of it, I tried the Hyatt Regency first. The Hyatt Regency price for a room on Thursday night was $1,399. Okay, I don't know that anybody, maybe Pebble Beach could get away with that at a certain time or another destination like that, but that's dynamic pricing at its most cruel, and there's a good chance that somebody bought it. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your pricing. Priswing, the dynamic pricing engine, is really going to help you analyze and realize the tops and bottoms in your market. And from there, you can move forward with making sure that you're maximizing at the top end and really minimizing at the low end. Gentlemen, thank you. Craig, thank you very much.
Thank you, Howard.
Arnaud, Brandon, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the stage, we're dumping Craig now. This is kind of like the Tonight Show, where the next guest comes out and then everybody kind of moves down the couch. So I'll introduce to you gentlemen from Golfmanager. I have Daniel Sillari, who I've met now a couple of times on Zoom, and Rafael Vera Arroyo. Pronounce that properly? These gentlemen are from Spain. Golfmanager has achieved a big foothold in the European market. They have a couple in the U.S., but really in the European market, and I think you're in Mexico as well, a golf management system that what I saw had some new features, some new intelligence, probably a more advanced technology than what we've typically seen in this country. So, Daniel, Rafael, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Tell me why my impression of Golfmanager was that it potentially is the next generation of golf management systems.
Well, your impression is right. We launched the company in 2018 with a proprietary technology. We don't depend on external libraries. Everything is done in-house. It's 100% on cloud, and it's an all-in-one software, a real all-in-one. I mean, we manage T-sheet, bookings of any sport, pro shop, academy, restaurant, spas, and whatever activity you may need. So the good point about that is that they just need golf courses, they just need one software. They don't need to rely on other softwares and connect them. And they have a 360 vision of the client, what he's doing in their premises, okay? And on top of that, we have open APIs, so we can connect with any other software, or other softwares can connect with us.
That's one thing I noticed on your website, the huge number of integrations that you've achieved with many other golf-centric technologies, as well as a number of different merchant processors, which really intrigues me because of what the study I just did on merchant processing. Explain to me a little bit about your philosophy, where as we have in this country, some of the GMS systems are not so open to integrations as you seem to be. So explain to me that philosophy and how those integrations work from a work standpoint. Who's got to do more of the work, you or the company that's going to integrate with you?
So here in the US, you are lucky that you have a lot of golf courses in just one country. As we are European, we started in Spain, just for 400 golf courses. We need to expand to other countries. So we need to be very flexible to be able to adapt to the different rules and to the different softwares that they are used in different countries. So that's why we develop a technology that is very flexible and very adaptable to connect to other softwares. As we are in Spain, we're in Portugal, we're in Italy, and they are using different payment gateways, they are using different accounting systems. So if we want to work there, of course we need to be able to connect. And regarding who does the job, it depends. We can connect with the other software if they have open APIs, but of course we have open APIs and more softwares are connecting to us.
Very good. So you talked about when you launched about 5 years ago, correct? What you had told me before, your course count is somewhere between 250 and 300. So that's been an average growth of about 50 courses a year is exceptional growth in this market. What are the installation challenges you have? You're a cloud system, and coming to the United States, a lot of courses here expect personal service, somebody on the ground at the course, getting them installed and trained. Is that something that you'll do in this country, or is that something that you've done in Europe that you'll bring to this country?
I mean, we provide, one of the key value propositions that we provide is our service, that we are very close to the customer. We provide an answer to their questions in 5 minutes. This is something very different to other softwares, at least in Europe. And regarding setup and trainings, we normally do it online, but of course we offer the service of doing on-site if it's needed. The thing is that of course we're working in 20 different countries, from Thailand to Chile to Mexico, so it's impossible for us to go everywhere. And it's really easy to learn the system, and we can do it of course online.
How much did you study the systems that have been embedded in the U.S. market for a number of years and looked at them and said, we can do this better or we can do that better? What was there much research in that as you were building your software?
Well, not really. I was a golf manager in Spain before founding Golfmanager, and I was a bit tired of how they were doing things in Spain. So we decided together to build Golfmanager, trying to copy the strengths of this Spanish software and obviously improve some of the weaknesses. When we went outside Spain and we landed in the US or Mexico, who are using American golf softwares, we realized that the Spanish one was very strong, probably the strongest we have been facing. So I don't want to sound pretentious on this, but it is true that when we came here, we mostly cover everything that a golf course needs. So that's thanks to this Spanish first competitor we had. So.
I mean, why we are starting to think about the US, because basically we face some American softwares all around the world, in Dominican Republic, in Mexico, in Oman, and they are choosing us in many golf courses. So that's why we're thinking that we have a strong software that we can compete in the US.
You mentioned that your system is both is modular, so you have a number of different components that a golf course can decide to use or need, and others that they don't, that then they would not be paying for. What about customization? How far do you go with courses? My line has been for a long time that if there's 15,000 golf courses in the country, they're run 15,000 different ways. You're going to find that out in this market. There's very little there's very little continuation of operations. It's not like how hotels are run or a lot of restaurants are run that have really a playbook on how to do it. Golf is very fragmented in that way. So what is your philosophy on customization?
I mean, that's why I said that the software is very flexible, because normally when we do a demo, they ask, and can you do this, and can you do this? Each golf course, they have their own rules, depending on the country, depending if it's private, depending if it's public. So for us, it's really important that the technology can adapt to the different rules of the golf courses, and it's very adaptable, and you just need to set it up as you want, and that's why we are able to work in so many different countries. I think it's the the main proof.
Very good.
Yeah, one thing, sorry,
Go ahead.
is that the main difference is that normally you as a golf course need to adapt to the software, but our approach is different. We try to adapt to your golf course. And since every golf course is different, everyone asks a single thing. Our approach is to provide that technology that allows us to provide that to you, to your golf course. So that's probably the main difference between an old software and a new generation software. To be able to give you everything you want, everything you need. And I think most of the softwares today are like a 20, 30 years old technology. Ours is very young, it's on cloud, module, so that makes a huge difference.
All right, so let's ask the big current question of the day. How does AI factor into your software?
Well, by the way, we are integrated with Priswing.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
right.
they are great, and I have one client that said that they increased 20% the revenue. So just to tell you that. No, we are not today too worried about the AI. Maybe we should, but we are not. But I know in the future you will be able to develop modules by AI. But so far, we are not too worried today about the AI.
I think what our members got out of the session we had yesterday with Paul Roetzer, and what I've told people is there's already AI embedded in a lot of the systems and software, like Priswing. It's already there. We've never called it AI until recently, but it's already there. What I think people are looking at now more than ever with the introductions of things like GPT-4 and Microsoft Copilot is using AI to help with better, more effective, and more targeted marketing. Is that, do you offer any type of marketing modules in your system? And will that progress to be maybe mimicking what we're seeing in other AI platforms right now?
I mean, we offer automated.
I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but
no, we offer automated emails in which, depending on the behavior of the customer, you send a different email. It's not a transactional email in which you book and then you receive the confirmation email, but something that, depending of if you're not playing for 2 months, you receive an email saying, "Hey, we miss you. Why you're not coming?" Or if you bought some clothes 3 months ago, you can send an email automatically saying, "Hey, do you want another pair of clothes?"
So you are tracking transactions specifically to the customer.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I'd asked you that before. That's one of the key considerations for me is the ability to have those transactions tied directly to customers just for those types of analysis, I think is vital. Some of our systems over the years haven't done that or haven't done that well. And that's got to be a key for anybody looking at a system today.
That's why when I'm saying that we are real all-in-one software is because at the end there are software specialized in automated emails, specialized in restaurants, and we are trying to have everything in once, so you don't need to use other kind of softwares.
I just want to add a little bit about this. We don't pretend to be the best F&B software or project software out there. We just want to do it in such a way that the Golfmanager doesn't need an external software for that, for the F&B. But I always say this to the golf courses. Having everything in one software, forget about connections. It's a pain to be maintaining a connection with a third party. For us, it's much easier to develop, thanks to our technology, this F&B software, than maintaining a connection with a 20 years old technology F&B. So having the advantages of having everything together, even if you are not the best F&B software or process software, make a huge difference. That's what we defend, and I think it's working.
Very good. Interesting. Are there any questions? Anybody? We had a full. Here we go.
So working, okay. Considering you have an open API and you have people coding against it, it would require you to version the database, correct? To maintain each version of that. Have you had challenges as you scale maintaining that against your open APIs and the development that's happening against it?
Can you repeat the question? I mean,
so if you have an open API and people are building code against it, right, or building other integrations, that means you have to version that.
yeah.
So when you go to update your database, if you don't version it, you'll write over that code that was done. Have you had challenges with scale and everything you're building against the open APIs to version it, or has it been pretty good?
From the beginning, we haven't changed. We have been adding more APIs. We have so many connections. Database is fine with it, with those connections. And we only have one version of APIs, one version of the software. So we don't have any problem about it. It is true that sometimes they require you to build a brand new API for this specific software, but the old ones work from the very beginning.
Tell me a little bit about your integration with Priswing. We have Priswing here. I know that they're one of the softwares that you integrate with. How have you seen that work from your clients on your side that are using both your system, Golfmanager and Priswing?
As I said before, we don't pretend to be the best F&B, or in this case we have our own dynamic pricing tool, but it's too basic compared to the professionals. The hard part about pricing in Spain, for example, is that it's hard for golf managers to change their mentality from fixed price to dynamic pricing. But the culture is changing, I think, more and more. It's easier to find golf courses using dynamic pricing in Spain, for example. I have a very good experience with this golf course, as I said. They're very happy with the increase. And what we do is we do a 10 minutes setup. We map our products with their technology. And what our manager should be doing, Priswing is doing that automatically for them. And I don't know about Craig, but normally these golf courses, they do it once and they forget it. And it's that easy. The integration is not hard at all.
I'll go back to Arnaud one more time with this question. What have you seen in the Golfmanager software that's impressed you differently than what you've seen in other systems that you've integrated with?
As you say, the integration is really smooth with most of the POS system and the software. Also, our onboarding process, it's a matter of days usually. So everything, I think now we are in 2024 on technology, API. It's not a mess. It's not too difficult. Most, even older POS, it's more complex, but even they create some API, some connection. And so I think now it's not anymore an issue to talk with different systems.
Okay. Any other questions? Right here.
Thank you. I had a question about your pricing model. Do you have a fixed price, or do you share in each transaction, or do you customize for every golf course?
You talking to Golfmanager or Priswing or both?
Golfmanager.
Golfmanager.
The price is like a monthly or annual fee. That depends on the module that you want to have. I mean, it's if you just want bookings, or if you want bookings and Pro Shop, Priswing Academy. So it depends on the number of modules that you have. Regarding the percentage, we are not like other softwares that they probably impose the payment gateway. as long as we are integrated with the payment gateway, you can work with or others.
Anybody else?
By the way, we work with tiny golf courses and top resorts in the world. So we try to adapt the product to each specific one. Someone asked before where we are focusing. We said everywhere. We are focusing everywhere because it's true. We can go to a tiny par 3s and a huge resort. So obviously you need to adapt the modules and the pricing to everyone.
Thank you, gentlemen. Arnaud, Brandon, Rafael, Daniel, Craig left, but we thank him as well. Thank you for joining us for our first live Tech Talk right here on the PGA Show. Everybody who's watching this, maybe we should warn when we send this out, Taylor, that they might want to have a glass of wine and some brie and fruit and crackers with them and enjoy the Euro flavor of this Tech Talk, because this is certainly different than anything we've done before. And I appreciate your participation, and I wish both of you guys, both of your companies, the best of luck.